this is Benj Arriola's Road to Retirement. This is my fourth video, and like the others, I'm going to start it off with the status of my accounts. In my 401k account, currently that value, last I checked, is around 77,000, and I'm still here at this 50k mark, still not here at the 100k. So that will only get colored when I totally reach 100k. But if I'm gonna try to draw a line, it's somewhere here in this area under the 100k mark. As for my stock brokerage account, that was 30k at the end of December. Last I've checked today, in January, it is around 38, I believe, which is a quick and fast jump for the beginning of 2026. So past the halfway mark, somewhere here, still not there to the 50k. And for the annual dividends, it didn't change, still around that 2,500. And when it comes to the overall stock portfolio, where I'm adding these two, the 401k and the stock portfolio account, it is near the 100k mark. However, I already have somewhat, maybe 15, around 115,000, but still far away from that 250k mark. So all of these colors are still the same. If ever there's anything changed, it's going to be these percents here, which are 6.25 increase month over month and 24.34% increase year over year. As for the rental property, annual revenue is still the same. I'm still in here in this area. That is only going to change when I buy my next property, or if I do a refinance, which I'm currently working on this year, but it's still in that area. So to continue, in my road to retirement, so disclaimer first, information shared in this channel is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, accountant, or investment professional. The views expressed here are based on my own personal opinions, experience, and my own journey towards financial independence. So I'm basically just sharing it and sharing what works for me and also what doesn't work for me. That doesn't mean it could not work or it will work for you. Do your own research, because all types of investing and trading involves risk and you could lose money. Always do your own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. I'm not responsible for any financial losses, damages, or actions you take on the information presented in these videos, posts, and comments. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investments carry risk, and individual results may vary. Some links in my video descriptions may be affiliate links, meaning I earn a small commission at no additional cost to you if you choose to use them. This helps support my channel. So now that getting that out of the way, let's go into the topics for this fourth video, which is going to be my 25-year ender and 2026 goals. So how did my 2025 end? So I'm going to talk about my successes and lessons. You can see I crossed out the failures there because, failures are really lessons. If it's a bigger fail, it tends to be a more expensive lesson. But we'll go through that, what we did in 2025 and what I am doing in 2026. That's which are going to be my goals for 2026 and how I intend to achieve them. So going straight into it, what did I do in 2025? So first is in my 401k, I actually increased my contributions from my salary. It used to be 3% of my salary for my day job, but I increased it to 4%. I didn't do it for the whole 2025. I think I did that somewhere in September, if I'm not mistaken. And that was through the influence of joining Blossom, the social network of investors. If you're not on Blossom, I suggest you check them out. It's a nice community where you can learn from each other. But from various conversations talking about how you could maximize your 401k and how important it is, and if you have company matching, it's like free money. So and I joined in August. So by September, I already learned my lesson from there and decided to increase my contribution to 4%. And then you probably know by now, if you've watched my other videos, I am a swing trader. And in my swing trading, I am running algorithmic trading systems. They're somewhat automated, where the systems run where I gave the formulas wherein it will decide what to buy, when to buy, and what to sell. And then I run different strategies on this, or I run different trading systems. And in 2024, I turned off one that wasn't earning that well. It was a trading system that looked at only the S&P stocks, and it was choosing the top 10 of the S&P, investing it automatically, and it had rules to exit. Usually it was based on a trailing stop, and then the time to enter was based on how the market is running it. And if general, I have various metrics I look at, but in general, when the market goes up, it buys 10 stocks from the S&P, and then trailing stops are allowed. But my other trading systems were outperforming it, so I decided to discontinue that one. And then I reallocated some funds to better performing trading systems. Since I'm running different ones, the ones that were performing better, I put more funds into that, and the ones that were performing less, I put less funds on it. And then also in 2025, I started working on trading systems that are more dividend focused. So it's still algorithmic trading, but it in the ones that involve dividends, I'm choosing more stable type of stocks, wherein I also own them for a longer period, so that it increases the chance of holding them during the ex-dividend date, so that they do earn dividends, and they also drip or they reinvest at the same time. And then another thing is I also started trading stocks in Canada, not only in the US. I also started that near the last quarter of the year. All of these decisions and changes I did in 2025 were mostly based on things that I've been learning from other traders on the Blossom network, or Blossom Social. And I've learned that companies in Canada are incentivized to give dividends, which is why sometimes these companies are more generous in their dividends at the same time, because they do get tax breaks in Canada. So that's the reason why I started trading on the Toronto Stock Exchange and not only the New York Stock Exchange. And then most of the tools, again, on the Blossom app, it has some projections. It asks for your portfolio, your target, your goal, in the target date of your goal of how much you want in your portfolio. And I guess it's using average numbers like of the S&P and things like that. But on the projected numbers, it was not meeting what I want on my retirement age. But when you add in monthly contributions in the formula, it makes it closer to reach those goals. So I started doing monthly contributions again, because I haven't done that in a very long time. I think in the past 5 years, I've never really contributed anything, although my portfolio is growing from swing trading alone over the past 5 years. But to expedite its growth, I'm gonna I started to add monthly contributions, and I will continue to do that this year, 2026. And then also in 2025, I started doing option trading again. Why again? Because I used to do this in the past. My estimated date, I think, was around 2012, I think. no, 2016 or 2017 is, I think, is a more accurate guess. And I lost a lot in option trading, and I was doing vertical spreads then. And I said, I'm not really going to do this again until I'm really ready to do it again. But again, after joining the Blossom social, the social network of investors and traders, there were some people that, you know, were saying how they do option trading. And I was learning a lot from them. Uh, Pinnacle Wealth is the main guy that I've learned from. His username is Pinnacle Wealth. And he has a nice guide on Blossom, and that got me started to go into option trading again, and started doing the wheel strategy, which is a cash secured put plus a covered call, and you're doing that in a cycle. And then I started doing that on covered call ETFs, so it's almost like a double covered call when I do own it, because the ETF has its own covered call, which is given to you income as distributions, while I'm doing a covered call on top of the covered call ETF. So it's another layer of covered call income. However, that had some challenges, and I'll talk about that later. And then I also started doing leaps, which are long-term calls, basically call options, where they move similarly to the stock, where you buy them way in the money so that they behave like the stock, but you tend to earn more from it. And started doing that as well, and also doing covered calls on it, as some people call it the poor man's covered call, when you do covered calls on leaps. And I was also doing that. And then lastly, just cost averaging, distributed cost averaging. Why am I doing that? Again, learned it again on Blossom. The more people I follow, the more, different strategies I hear, and I started trying what seems to be feasible. I try to learn it well before actually doing it, and I start with small funds. But most of these newer ones that I've added are typically safer strategies, even safer than the swing trading. Um, so, increasing my 401k, doing the wheel and the leaps covered call, those are one of the uh, less risky option trading. And then dollar cost averaging, um, again, less risky as well. And I'm doing that on the Roth IRA, because I also heard the advantages of having a Roth, because I didn't have one in the past. I only had a 401k. So those are the things that I've done in 2025. So let's look at the numbers for 2025. As I said, I'm a swing trader, and then I do have algorithmic trading systems, and they all have different nicknames here. You could see the swing. I have the Premier Growth Trading System, the Ruler stocks, hot stocks, blue chips plus contra. Blue chips stocks when the market is going up, but when the market's going down, the strategy shifts to looking at contra ETFs, which are basically inverse ETFs, that they improve in price when the market is going down. And then swing trading on US dividend stocks and Canada dividend stocks. So these are two separate trading systems, and this is all my swing trading. There's the dollar cost averaging on the Roth IRA, and doing some option wheel strategy on CC ETFs, and also doing the LEAP option covered calls. So this is everything that I've done in 2025. And if we're going to look at the total returns of all these strategies, not all of them were positive. The top three are the ones in green: the ruler stocks, the hot stocks, and the blue chips plus contra. Those are my top performing strategies overall. And then the top three losers was my swing trading on Canada dividend stocks, and then uh, my Roth IRA. This is supposed to be as safe as possible. However, this started really late, only in December. It just didn't have enough time to grow. And then there's the options wheel strategy, has the biggest loss. And what was happening there is I was doing a cash secured put. And on that cash secured put, I did it on AMDY, where at the time I started doing it, AMDY looked like it was going up and it looked like it was worth doing it. And then I just kept doing the cash secured put as long as I was making money. But I wasn't updating the stock. And I was just careless, not looking at it. And there was one cash secured put where I got assigned. And when I got assigned to AMDY, I owned like 500 of it. 500 shares of AMDY. Then a reverse split happened where it turned to I own 103 of it instead of 500. And then the value started to go down, the value of the underlying, which is AMD. So that made me get into this negative area. And then for the LEAPs covered call, that is also large, 644. It did not reach the other swing trading systems. However, when I did these strategies, they did not all start at the same time. You know, some of my swing trading I've been doing since February, and some in May and some in August. While the LEAPs covered call, I only started in August, and the wheel options wheel I started in November, and Roth IRA dollar cost averaging in December. So there's not enough days to really grow yet for the others, while the others spent more time to grow. So what I did here is I calculated the number of days from to the end of the year, and I divided the total returns by the number of days I was doing them. And you could see from there, it's almost like saying the value that I've earned per day was $1.38 for the swing premier and so on. As for the hot stocks, so the top three, the value per day was 581, 404, 352. And the value per day for the LEAP covered call was 5.11, which is in second place compared to your swing trading. The second place is no longer this ruler stocks. Second place is actually the LEAP covered call. So what I did here is assuming this is the same performance that I could do in 2026, and I multiply this by 30 to get some estimate of what I could be possibly earning per month. And then on average, it doesn't have to be the exact number, of course it goes up and down, and also multiplied it further by 12 so that I get it by the year. And what came out was the hot stocks is still on top, but my LEAPs covered call is right there, and considering it only started in August. So I see a lot of potential there in the LEAPs covered call, where that already tells me I'm going to put a little bit more weight on that. Now, as for the option wheel, the wheel strategy, which I did on AMDY, I'm still digging myself out of that before I could do some correction, which I believe I have a way to dig out of it. And the Roth IRA, it just started in December. It was just at a point where I invested in SCHD, and SCHD was going down, um, but nominally it's actually in the positive already for this January. But during the time of the end of 2025, that's where it was. Okay, so what are my 2026 goals? First is I want to double my portfolio growth. So in 2025, my portfolio grew by 5,000. So it used to be 25 and it turned into 30,000. Since it grew by 5,000, my goal for 2026 is to grow 10,000. So that will make my portfolio around 40K. This is my stock trading portfolio. And then another thing is combined 401k and my stock trading account. I'm targeting a 150K total portfolio target. Even from my 401k alone, which is currently at 77, I anticipate it to be near 20K or near 100K by the end of the year. So it's more about where could my stock portfolio reach 50K, and you can see my target is 40K, but I'm being somewhat ambitious and I'll try that 150K. So how will I do this? So in my 401k contributions, which I said I increased to 4% in 2025, so this 2026 I'm increasing it to 5%, and that should make the year in balance near 100K at 99. It's giving me a 20K increase. And then expand LEAP covered calls. So the LEAP covered calls, it outperformed a lot of my stocks. And so what I'm going to do there is basically going to increase what I'm doing in the LEAP covered calls, maybe increase the contracts, or maybe find another stock, because I've been doing it primarily on SLV. And it just so happened SLV is performing really well in 2025. So it made the LEAP covered call pretty much easier to do. But even though it performs better, I'm not going to put all my money into the LEAP covered calls, because I still want to test it first, how it behaves in declining markets. In a year, sometimes you'll get a few weeks to a few months where the market is just going down, and I want to see if how this LEAP covered calls behave during that time. Will I still do the right thing? And since it's less than a year, that's the whole reason why I don't want to devote all my money into the LEAP covered calls, because I feel I haven't experienced all the situations the market has to really run a LEAP covered call properly. Although it looks pretty straightforward, but just based on experience where I lost big in trading in the past, so I just want to be more sure of my actions. And then add more capital. I did say I started doing some contributions again, starting around August, September. And I was basically adding $88.88. No specific reason, more superstition, or because 8 is supposed to be a lucky number in many Asian cultures. That's why I was contributing 88.88. But I may add more if ever I do have any extra. I'm gonna add more to my trading account. And then next one is selective use of margin. What am I saying there? So most of you may be aware of margin, which is like a loan. It's basically a loan. You're borrowing money from the stock brokerages so that you could invest in more things. However, since it is a loan, you are paying some interest on that. But how I do this, since I do different trading systems and I back test them, you could see my video number 3 where I talk about that on the back testing and basically how I do my swing trading. And I started back testing with margin, where I entered the interest rates and everything just to see how they behave. And they didn't do well with all my trading systems. They only did well with 3 of them. So I'm gonna use margin on 3 of my trading systems, which is primarily the 2 dividend stock trading systems and the one that was named Premier Growth Trading Systems. They work well in backtesting using margin, so I'm only going to use margin in those 3. And then better option wheel stock selection. That was very challenging with AMDY, especially with the reverse split happening and then value just going down. However, this week, a week before the recording of this video, AMDY seems to be going up, and the reason is the value of the underlying stock, AMD, has been going up. So I might be able to dig myself out of a hole there. And aside from that, the distributions done on AMDY are reinvested into my holdings. And once I just gain my money back, most likely, and maybe even a little bit of profit, I might sell AMDY and then do the wheel strategy again, but on a different covered call ETF, something that is more predictable, in my opinion. And then mortgage refinance. It's something that I'm already in the process of going through it, but still finding the right lender there. This will not improve my passive income yet because the refinance is not on my rental property because it's still relatively new. There's not much equity built in it, and I'm doing the refinance on my personal property, my primary residence property. And even though it doesn't help my rental income, it does help me save more. And if it helps me save more, then I have more to add as contributions to my stock portfolio. So, unlike my other videos, this one is relatively short. And you could see I showed this earlier. So my goal, if I reach my goal for the 401k, which is around 99,000, near 100, so that should land somewhere in that area. My stock brokerage account, my target is around 40k, so that is somewhere there. Not exactly at 50k yet, but that there's going to be a little bit more before I cover that. And then for the total stock portfolio, target is 150k, so it's going to be somewhere there. And those are my goals, and that's what I'm targeting for 2026, and also mention how I'm going to get them. You'll notice that I did mention earlier the things that I've been doing to achieve, or the things that I've been doing in 2025 that I've changed and also continue to change in 2026 are ideas that I got from the Blossom Social. Blossom Social, if you're interested, just scan that QR code, download the app on your phone, and be part of the community. You could ask a lot of people and learn from them. And as you learn, of course, everyone has their own disclaimer. There are some financial consultants on Blossom Social, but there are many that are not financial consultants. Everyone are just sharing their own journey. Like how I'm doing right now, I'm sharing my own journey. And we're just learning from each other, but as long as you test things well, you study things well, you do your own research, you make your own decisions, and everyone else you're listening to, just to learn what works for them, that may or may not work well for you. So that is where your own research comes into play. But anyway, good luck to everyone in 2026. Hopefully it becomes fruitful for all of us. hopefully all of you also have a great road to your own retirement. This is Benj Arriola, and if you want to look at my swing trading strategies, you can look at the videos that I have here, my episode 3. And then if you want to look at the different ways how you can make money in the stock market, that was my episode 2. And episode 1 is why I'm doing all of this. It's primarily for my family, my children, where I want them to have one rental property each so that they have some passive income when I do go away. And hopefully I earn more that it would cover my current mortgage so my children don't have to worry about it. And that is me. Thank you very much. Truly appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button and like this video, and maybe even give some suggestions in the comments of what you want me to talk to next. Mostly in the swing trading space is my specialty. However, any questions in other areas that I think I could answer, then sure, maybe we can talk